This is Mac OS Ken.
Apple seeks a Supreme Court review, a weird note from Wedbush, and an actually kind of historic MLS match this weekend. It is Friday, the 22nd of May, 2026. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by NordLayer, a toggle-ready network security platform built for today's business. Get savings on top of savings with offer code macOSKen-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSKen. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Come on, you want to be like people like you, don't you? Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Apple's asking again for a review of the case between it and Epic by the Supreme Court. 9to5Mac says the Cupertino company filed its request on Thursday in an attempt to reverse key lower court rulings over the App Store injunction and its long-running legal battle with Epic. The piece says Apple's asking the Supremes to address two questions. The first is whether Apple should have been held in contempt for charging a commission on purchases made outside the App Store, according to the piece. The second is said to be about the scope of the injunction. You know, I was never under the impression that the lower court thought charging a commission was wrong. The impression I got was that the court found Apple setting an outside commission of 27% versus the App Store commission of 30%. It was the closeness of those two percentages that I thought the court found contemptuous. According to 9to5Mac, Apple is asking the Supreme Court to reverse that contempt finding, arguing that a court order must clearly and unambiguously prohibit the specific conduct at issue before a party can be held in contempt for violating it. Apple has previously argued that the contempt finding matters on its own, regardless of the final commission rate, because it could influence how the lower court handles the case going forward. Is disingenuousness something the courts can find a company in? Can a company be found to be intentionally obtuse? I would normally say the Supreme Court has more important things to do, but wasting their time might actually be good for the country at this point. So you know what? You go, Apple Legal. As for the question of scope, the lower court rulings apply to all registered developers worldwide with apps in the U.S. App Store. Apple says it should only apply to Epic since its fight is with Epic. Whether the court will review the case remains to be seen. Because Apple and Epic have agreed to an expedited schedule, 9to5Mac says the Supreme Court could decide whether to take the case before the justices break for the summer, potentially in late June or early July. Let's go now with the story that is both confusing and frustrating. Seeking Alpha had word of a note from Wedbush analyst Matt Bryson. Has there been a coup? Bryson probably covers some sector for Wedbush, while Daniel Ives still covers Apple. Still, might have been worth Bryson's time to bend Ives' ear for a moment. I told you earlier this week of price drops for iPhone in China ahead of next month's 6/18 shopping holiday. Those brought the starting price for iPhone 17 Pro down to about $968 US, while the starting price for the entry-level iPhone 17 is down to roughly $622. According to Seeking Alpha, Bryson sees those drops as Apple trying to boost its market share in the country. Duh? Quoting his note, "We believe that Apple had a component price advantage on builds in late 2025 due to stable memory costs during a period of rising pricing. And we wonder if Apple might be leveraging this advantage on iPhone 17 builds to garner market share ahead of either 1, iPhone 18s that will likely be burdened by higher memory costs, and or 2, new software and services that could require higher specifications, Edge AI type offerings for example, with growing higher margin service and software fees creating a vehicle that could subsume hardware costs over time. I take it back. He didn't need to talk to Ives. It actually sounds like an AI summary of stuff that Ives and other analysts have been saying in notes for months. Now, the one thing that does bother me about the note, it doesn't acknowledge that Apple has been letting the likes of JD.com and Tmall drop the price of iPhone in China into 618 sales for years. Xiaomi, Huawei, Apple, every phone maker does it. Chinese consumers expect it. If Apple didn't drop prices on at least some devices for 618 in June or Singles Day in November, that'd be a story. Looking for somebody somewhere to say something about that, I made a terrible mistake on my visit to Seeking Alpha. I read the comments where it's apparently always 2014. Nobody in China likes iPhone was the gist of one comment, which, God bless the internet, led to a fight. And those were the premium posters. Apple was the fastest growing smartphone maker in Latin America to start the year. That is the latest from Omdia. Worth noting, they're starting from a small place. According to the market tracker, Apple shipped 1.8 million iPhones in Latin America in the first quarter versus 1.4 million for the same quarter a year earlier. That led to year-on-year growth of 31%. When you are small, any growth looks big. In fairness, the 31% seen by Apple was the largest growth shown by any smartphone maker in the region. Fifth place Apple's 31% growth just beat out fourth place Honor's 30%. Overall, the smartphone market in Latin America grew 3% in the first quarter. Looking ahead, things get Ragnarok-y. According to Omdia, inventory normalization and gradual pass-through of memory cost increases to retail prices are expected to temper sales growth. In the second half of this year, elevated component costs and macro uncertainty could weigh on demand. That said, there are things the industry could do in Omdia's estimation. The Post says reinforced financing by operators and retailers could provide partial offsets. Additionally, holidays and new device launches could give the market a boost. Still, the firm expects uneven performance across the region. Stronger economies like Brazil, Chile, and Mexico should do well for mid to upper tier offerings, while more price-sensitive markets prioritize tactical promotions and tighter control on inventory. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, NordLayer, a toggle-ready network security platform built for today's business. Nord is a name you have known for years, thanks to their consumer VPN. NordLayer does that, and a whole lot more, combining a built-for-business VPN, access control, and threat protection in one easy-to-use platform. The VPN is huge. The access control, making sure your network is only accessed by people you trust on devices you trust, is huge. The threat protection, keeping malware and phishing attempts from ever reaching your team. Threat protection's huge. All of that with no huge setup and no new hardware. NordLayer includes step-by-step onboarding and 24/7 support, all starting at just $8 per user per month. Really, though, you should check out the special offer for macOS Ken listeners. Get up to 22% off NordLayer yearly plans plus 10% on top with offer code macOSKen-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSKen. Try it risk-free with their 14-day money-back guarantee. NordLayer, toggle-ready network security built for your business. Get savings on top of savings with offer code macOSken-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSken. A couple of Apple's health features have found their way to India. Mac Rumors says sleep apnea notifications for Apple Watch and hearing test for AirPods Pro have turned up on the subcontinent. Starting today for all you hepcats with headsets, 9 to 5 Mac says Apple Vision Pro's doing an immersive video thing, taking you to Spain. That's the good news. The bad news? You pretty much have to like soccer. I kid. Soccer's fine. The title we're talking about, Real Madrid, The Weight of Greatness. According to the report, the 20-minute documentary intersperses shots of on-field action with interviews centered around the historic club. Footage was captured during the 2025 Champions League and includes star players. Shot with more than 30 immersive cameras over 5 days, 9 to 5's Ryan Christoffel saw the short early and he was impressed. On-the-field play was especially compelling, though he says Apple Immersive was also skillfully employed with more intimate interview clips. If you've got a headset, you can decide for yourself. Real Madrid, The Weight of Greatness, should be available now. And finally today, it is weird that it has taken this long, but Apple is capturing an MLS game with iPhone, and only iPhone, this weekend. The Cupertino company dropped a press blurb on Thursday promoting this Saturday's match between LA Galaxy and Houston Dynamo FC. According to the blurb, the match will be captured exclusively on iPhone 17 Pro. That'll mark the first time iPhone will be used to capture the entirety of a major professional live sporting event broadcast, according to the company. Quoting the release, iPhone 17 Pro will capture live footage throughout the match, including team warm-ups on the pitch, player introductions, in-net goal angles, and the atmosphere inside the stadium. With cameras positioned throughout the venue, the broadcast will deliver the pristine video quality fans expect, alongside dynamic new perspectives that bring viewers closer to the action, made possible by the small form factor of iPhone. Hockey. You East Coasters wanting to see it live will have to stay up late. LA and Houston take the pitch this Saturday, the 23rd of May, at 7:30 p.m. Pacific. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by NordLayer. Get savings on top of savings with offer code macOSken-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSken. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSken. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can find me on Mastodon, macOSken at mastodon.social. You can also send me an email, info@macOSken.com. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.